Hello, and at this moment, you should be able to hear me, everybody. Hello, and a wonderful. Hello. I don't know what day it is, but hello. I welcome you to an amazing stream today. We have the developer from Iron Blue Labs and the developer from the amazing CRYENGINE game, Last Kingdom, not the Last Kingdom. And we also have Nick, who's helping me moderating this stream. Hello, everybody.
Hello. I'm not moderating the stream. I'm moderating you.
No.
That's what I'm usually doing.
Nick's job is to keep me safe from cursing, to keep the stream safe. Because like I had like vodka bottles and all of the stuff here already, and Nick was like, no, we have to be safe.
Man, this is off to a great start. That's great. Hello, everybody.
Hello. I switched the screen, and now you can see what we see, and we see something really cool. But Christian, maybe you can introduce yourself first.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Journey. So my name's Christian. Many of you probably know me from the CRYENGINE community Discord. If you haven't seen me in there, you haven't been there very long. I'm the lead developer with Blue Iron Labs. We're working on a strategy game within CRYENGINE called Last Kingdom. We've been working on it for about 2 years, I would say, more seriously. And then about 3 years ago was when we jumped into the engine to kind of figure out exactly what it had to offer. And that brings us here.
Awesome.
Yeah, what was the reason you kind of decided, okay, I'm going to create a game with CRYENGINE right now? Like, what was the start? What was the spark? Let's call it spark.
Yeah, so there's a couple things. I'm sure this is a pretty familiar origin story to many people who develop with CRYENGINE, but Crisis is a very fond memory in my heart.
Mm-hmm.
The original one, I think, pushed graphics to a level that no one really thought was possible. And obviously, my computer couldn't run it for like the first 3 years it was out, but just based on that, it's always been something I've wanted to do, to jump into the engine and create a game. And then obviously there's the other side of it where I love strategy games. I play a lot of Civilization, a lot of Age of Empires, a lot of Stronghold. And so seeing those games, seeing a lot of the physics systems, a lot of the systems that interact with just the strategy genre in general, I think there's a lot of things within CRYENGINE that are actually very applicable to a strategy game, even though you may not think it's not the first thought in your mind. CRYENGINE strategy game, right? But that's also part of it. There's a little bit of a challenge there. Nobody's made a full strategy game within CRYENGINE, so yeah.
And
awesome.
And then you kind of decided, like, okay, and now I start a game. So how do you? Well, first of all, let's maybe we should explain what we are currently seeing right now. What kind of game is Last Kingdom?
Yeah, so Last Kingdom is a strategy game at its core. So you have a blank canvas. It's a big world based in Europe, where you essentially you land on a beach after a shipwreck, and your job is to essentially reestablish a kingdom within this world. What you're seeing right now is basically the beginning of that, in which you start to build shelters, and then you have peasants which come to your kingdom, and then these little folks can get assigned to do any number of tasks, like cut down trees or go mine wood or whatever, to a point where you build up your resources, then you get to build the castle, and then you get to break everyone else's castle.
So there is fighting here.
There is fighting, yes. Right now we have a kind of an initial implementation of the combat system set up for our hunters. So like they'll go out and they'll try and find deer to hunt. I think if you look in the woods over here, like here's some nice stags. But yeah, for the V.1 release, what we're really focusing on is the economy system. So making sure that you can get the resources, harvest the resources, build stuff, basic game functionality exists. So that there's good building blocks moving forward.
Okay, because this looks really. Oh, you have bigger buildings. Okay. So how did you kind of approach the development of this game? What were your beginnings? Where did you start? Like, did you have any experience before with game development, especially with CryEngine?
So my experience with game development didn't really start before CryEngine. I had played around with the sandbox editor back when it was a Steam application you could purchase for a monthly subscription.
So a while
as a
back,
service.
yeah.
But really, my background is in software development. So I work full time as a web developer. So web software is my focus, and I kind of took that experience and have now poured it into game development, along with a couple other folks. And with that, really, CryEngine was the cauldron where we kind of put all our ideas, all our thoughts, and where we learned development from. And actually, I think there's a lot to say there in that CryEngine is an excellent tool to learn. Even though that may sound counterintuitive, because a lot of people say CryEngine is really hard to learn. You can't really use CryEngine unless you know how to build games.
Yeah, that's something we try to push to explain. But yeah, I completely agree in that regard, especially when I kind of have the same experience of building games. So yeah, I can definitely agree in that regard. Are you building trees over stone, over resources? Oh, that's not.
We're building apple orchards right now.
Yeah. What was like the first thing that you encountered in CryEngine where you thought, wow, okay, this is kind of easy. This is way easier than I thought it would be.
Yeah, so my original experience trying to getting started in CryEngine was actually very, very complicated. We were trying to find an entry point for where we could actually start to add our game logic, and this was back in like 2017. And so when I pulled it up again, CryEngine had done a bunch of updates, and they kind of introduced the concept of an entity and entity components. So and the whole plugin system that exists within CryEngine. So to get started with a project in CryEngine today is 100 times easier, at least in my opinion, than it used to be. So it's as simple as saying, oh, here's a new project, here's the code, this is literally your insertion point, there's a bunch of templates. So it put everything right in front of us. We didn't have to really dig too far to jump in. And I think that kind of was the spark that lit this project on fire, in that we were able to jump in and get started so quick. And obviously, not everything in game development is that quick, but getting set up and started with CryEngine is really nice to do.
What's your background in programming?
Yeah, so I guess like I kind of said earlier, I'm a software engineer in the web space. So I do web development, software as a service solutions, APIs, a lot of that type of stuff.
I see. And how did you you already said about how you came up with making a game and using CryEngine for it, and but I'm actually curious because so CryEngine, the feedback that we're getting, as Roma already said, right? Some people say CryEngine is incredibly hard to learn. I think it's how do I put this? I think it might be hard to learn, but if you know other game engines, I feel like it isn't so much harder, really. And I usually get good feedback from programmers, especially because they say it's actually very good and easy to alter the code, and everything is very clean and simple. Is that something you would say you're seeing as well in CryEngine?
Yeah, and so that's probably one of the strongest points in CryEngine is that it has such a great C++ API. Most everything is exposed very well. From a code point of view, like I said, you can plug in a project, you can get code running within that project in a matter of minutes. And then from there, it's really just about understanding and knowing where stuff is to be able to pull it into your project, rather than actually having to do a bunch of fancy stuff to get it to work.
Did you hard code all the features that we see in your game currently, or how did you go about it?
Yes, everything you're seeing today is completely done in C++.
That's awesome.
I would say, yes and no. There's a bit of overhead to iterating with C++ that would not exist if, for example, we had been smart and maybe used schematic instead. So like, there's a lot of logic, and maybe I can kind of showcase a little bit of what's going on here, but
I have to find the threshold. Yeah.
Yeah, this is a fishing hut. And so we got a fisherman who's almost dead because I've been starving them.
I see. But what about the apple orchard we were seeing in the beginning? What about that?
So they're giving us apples now. We have 17 apples. I just at the beginning, when we first started this little session, they had no food. So
I see. So yeah.
I was neglecting my peasants, and they were dying. And if I would have neglected them long enough, they would have all died.
Like most European monarchs have done at some point in their lives, I guess.
Right?
Yeah. So realistic. Yeah. This game is so realistic.
So realistic, yeah. So you mentioned that. Okay, so we talked about the stuff that it's easy to get into the CryEngine. It's way easier than you thought it would be. But let's be a little bit transparent here. What was the point where you said like, okay, well, this is hard. This is where it's unnecessarily hard to do. What was the thing that we can also improve on? Because it's also important to hear feedback for us, especially in that regard.
Yeah. So I guess one of the biggest things that's difficult with CryEngine is that CryEngine expects it to be done a certain way. When you say like, hey, I want to import a mesh through the FBX importer, you need to set it up in a certain way. You need to name your files a certain way. You need to get the hierarchy of them a certain way. And if you don't do everything how CryEngine is expecting it, it's not going to work. And honestly, I think that's probably where 99% of frustration comes. In that, like, CryEngine works. You can do it. It's not like it's broken or non-functional. It's just it's done a very specific way. And maybe it's not always so clear to developers exactly how to do that.
I think the reason for that is just the German roots, because we have to follow rules and everything has to be efficient.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, but I understand. Yes. So definitely, if you, especially in my opinion, if you deal with animations, you stumble upon this issue that you have to follow specific rules to be able to make an animation work in CryEngine. But I think you also come more from the coder side, programming side, where this kind of also might appear here and there.
Yeah, and it's not like the animation is super difficult. Well, I guess just
no. I think also it's really not hard to implement animation into CryEngine. But as you said, you have to follow rules.
Correct, and especially with all the other tools out there, CryEngine has everything aligned to their specific axis, and Blender's is different, and Unreal's is different, and Unity's might be the same.
Yeah.
But you don't know that to start, and so when you do it, and your characters are like swinging backwards,
yeah,
you can hit your head against the wall quite a bit before understanding that. That root bone is the key to what is actually going to align your character properly.
Yeah.
But did you, no, I don't know if we already talked about this, but where's my head today? But I was just thinking, so you said basically it all started with Crisis, is for most people indeed in the community, but then, you decided you want to use CryEngine, you want to make a game. Did you find the community first, like the Discord community, for example, or was there the idea to work with the engine? Was that first? Did you start your game before that,
Yeah.
or?
Yes. Yeah. So I started working on the game before then, or before I even knew Discord existed, and I worked on it for about 3 months, struggling quite a bit before I realized, hey, CryEngine has a Discord. And when I figured out that they had a Discord, I was like, well, that makes sense. Why didn't I think of it sooner? And that in and of itself opened up a whole new level of ability within CryEngine. I know it's one question that people get asked a lot, like what's the best feature of CryEngine? And honestly, my first answer is the community Discord.
Oh,
because
our community managers will be happy to hear this.
There's a lot of things you can get stuck on with game development, and what's so nice about the community Discord is that you go there, you ask a question, and 9 times out of 10 you're going to get an answer, unless you ask a crazy question about like how to implement custom Boolean physics within C++. And so being able to go there and ask those questions and get answers from actual people who are also using the engine and get that feedback into what you're working on immediately is very valuable. So yeah, it started first, then went to the community, and honestly, I wish I would have known about the community when I did start. And for anybody who is not in the community, the Discord community right now, I would definitely recommend to jump over, hop in Discord, check it out.
Yeah.
That is so good to hear, honestly. I mean, to be fair, it's like the best thing about CryEngine is the people, but it's kind of true. I mean, I'm actually happy that we're also able to support the Discord server, that our developers are on this server as well, and that they like to see and check on people, what they do. They don't always have time to respond to everything, but for example, we had a situation a couple of weeks ago where people were stuck on downloading the engine, I think. And sometimes our developers are lurking; they aren't always interacting. But especially the web team is super. They're super attentive to these things, and they immediately started looking into it and fixing it. And it was fixed quite fast, which I love. I love that we can do this, and I love that we have this this interaction with the community. Honestly, it's a good community.
Yeah, and I remember that was like also a huge part why I was able to kind of develop my project, the game that I've been working on, because of the community. And we didn't have Discord before that. We were on Facebook, the infamous Facebook group, CryEngine group.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
the CryEngine Facebook group back in the day.
And then people were really helpful. That's where I met Ellen, right? And yeah, I was so happy that the community were able, to help me with all of my problems. So it's really nice to see that Discord kind of sorts to say, has the same purpose right now, with just a lot more people who can help you.
Did you find collaborators on CryEngine Discord that are helping you with the game right now?
Yeah. So Yorma is actually. Yorma was somebody who joined the community Discord, and I was actually helping him initially with his side scroller. And 6 months down the road, he ended up joining the Last Kingdom Discord, which if you guys aren't in the Last Kingdom Discord, definitely join. And I always put out there, like, kind of jokingly, like, if you want to give your time for free to work on a project, if you want to work on something and not get paid for it, like, come join the Last Kingdom team, because that's what we do. Is we just work on Last Kingdom, and obviously we're not getting paid for it right now.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of fun, and that's the value in it.
Yeah.
But he came in and he was like, yeah, I'd totally love to do some art and work on it within the project. And so he's actually if we go take a look at the woodcutter, he did a lot of the art for this character.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
So yeah.
Yeah, because I also wanted to tap myself on the shoulders and say like, hey, Journey, you are amazing. Because I remember I created the Discord channel, CRYENGINE Discord channel.
That's actually true. Yeah. You did that before you were a part of Crytek.
Yeah, well. Right. That's cool. That's cool. Since we are kind of, right now dancing around the topic of community and building a community, so tell me about your Discord channel, your actual Discord channel. How many people are on there? What do you do on there? Thank you, Musking. That's really nice. I will actually join after the stream because it's really important for me to be updated on the progress here. But yeah, what's going on there? What's going on your Discord channel?
Yeah, so the Last Kingdom Discord is essentially a place where anybody who has an idea or thoughts or sees something that they think is interesting within the game, they can go there and share it with everybody else who's there. It's also a place where if you do support the game, we do have Patreon, we do have Discord subscriptions. If you do decide to want to support the game monetarily, there's some benefits you get from it. You get access to certain channels. You get if you get the Baron tier, which is essentially the $20 a month support through Patreon, you get a game key to a very rough around the edges build of this game. So you can actually play with something, but really it's there so that we can get feedback and talk with the community, and as it grows and as more people join, we can just continue to funnel that back into the game.
Okay.
Can you show the page, the Patreon page on screen, maybe?
Sure. Yeah. Let me.
I just thought it would be interesting to see that, because if you're not a Patreon yet, you cannot see there, but maybe you can scroll. Advertise. We're here to advertise for you as well.
Yeah. So there's not actually a ton of content within. There's nothing on Patreon that you would see if you were a patron. What it does is it unlocks the Discord roles for you. So everything kind of funnels back to Discord. But let me pull up the chat here, and we'll take a look. All right, yeah. So here's a Discord. Obviously, there's a lot going on, but here are the things that maybe you couldn't see, but you can see if you were a backer. So we have some concept art, something you want to put together for a fisherman, for the character. Some AI generated stuff that we played around with. That was big a few months ago. We have the showcase where we show some of the different structures within the game, and a couple of videos of gameplay. And then we have the releases channel, which is only available to the Baron level supporters.
I see.
Okay.
Where we actually publish all of our changelog notes. So all the changes, all the releases that go out to our to Steam do get published here. So you get an insight into everything that's been changed. As you can see, there's quite a bit. So we're definitely pushing it forward as much as we can.
That's really cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of updates too. Yeah, I'm on the server, but I'm currently not subscribed to your Patreon, so that's the fun I miss, I guess.
Yeah, well, and that's actually something, Journey. I'm surprised you're not on Discord because you are supporting through Patreon.
I have to be honest with you. I subscribed, and then I left because my goal was to support, but I had no clue.
So here's some money, bye.
That was kind of the idea, because I thought, okay, I'll get the updates on Discord, on our Discord. So yeah, that was.
Yeah, well, if you do join the Discord, you'll get a role, so you'll have permanent access to
That's cool.
to those channels.
So how do you plan on expanding the community, on getting more reach in that?
Yeah, so a big part of it is getting something playable that people can have in their hands and actually look at. That isn't just a bunch of screenshots of work in progress, CryEngine development essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So we're pushing towards our V0.1 release, which is a technical build. It's going to include some basic, pretty much the basics of the economy. So resource harvesting, worker creation. It's going to include kind of the intro level that introduces the background to why we're here and how we got to this area. And then once that's there, the V0.1, that build is going to essentially be the technical build. Any backer is going to be able to get their hands on that, play it. And then from there, it's really just more of this stuff. Like Nick said earlier, marketing is hard. So just finding areas where we can talk about it, present it, do streams about it. That's something we also do, is we do periodic development streams every couple weeks or so, and that's something we're going to keep doing.
Nice, yeah.
Until we either burn out or everything's finished.
Yeah, the thing is, I can tell you that from my personal experience, and Nick can tell you because it's his job. But being a game developer and do the marketing, that's for me personally, it's just hell, because marketing is it's full-time job. So. Yeah,
it's also difficult. It's difficult to market something that you have poured your heart and soul into.
Yeah.
Which doesn't mean that I fairly believe that you do better marketing if you're passionate for a product, and I'm very passionate for CryEngine as well. But still, it's different. It's different from being the actual developer who has done the features, who has worked on all these things on a granularity that is different, and that is something that I usually suggest to indie devs as well. Invest in community management, invest in support, and invest in a person that handles communication while you're building this community. Communication seems like something that everyone can do, who can, talk to people or write something, but it's not everyone is a writer, not everyone is a good communicator, and it's really become so much harder when it's about something that you love or that you are biased about because you made it, and that's normal, right? That's good. But having a community manager or someone who handles the communication, who handles the feedback with your feedback target group, that is invaluable even at an early stage. And as you said, it is difficult because the game's not making a lot of money yet. So you have to, look at your resources and what you have. But even if it's someone passionate from your community that you have right now, but who is not actively participating in development, it often makes a lot of sense, to let someone handle that kind of communication and feedback full time, who is not a creator on the actual project.
Yeah.
So also one personal tip from me. I know it's so to be a solo game developer is a good sell. That could be really good marketing to build a community. I know personally a few solo developers, for example, on TikTok. And they went nuts on the views just because they said they were solo developers and introduced their project. They built it. They were able to build a community on Discord with thousands and thousands of people. So I would definitely utilize all the kinds of tools where you get the attention of people and tell a good story. Tell a good story about the development and about you, and I think that could be really, really nice.
It takes a lot out of you, though, because creating good content is
extremely a lot, like really. But I just saw the results that it can bring. Because I was like, I was kind of like, let's say 2 years ago when all of those new platforms kind of start popping up and TikTok become so famous. I was like, yeah, this platform for advertising, it's, I don't know, because there are many young audiences and so on. But then I started to do some actually analyzing and looking at solo devs and devs who are on TikTok. And they went crazy. Like the numbers were crazy on just, the development process. They didn't have any product yet. They were just sharing the development process, and it was insane. Like I remember this one guy who was doing, he's working on this musical themed action game. I think he had millions and millions of views on his TikTok, just sharing the progress. So yeah, something like this, even though, okay, sorry, Nick, I'm not old, I know, but I am always scared to utilize those kinds of tools because I think, okay, it's maybe for younger audiences, but...
You mean TikTok?
Yeah. Oh. But it's still a way better tool than I thought it would be.
What are we seeing right now, Tristan? What are you currently working at? What are you testing?
So I'm playtesting something that's broken, which I've noticed, which I've taken a note of to fix. But
what is
right
it?
now, it's the workers just aren't moving up the ladder or the stairs properly here. Yeah, they get.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
He's getting stuck, but essentially what this is we have a wheat farm and we have a windmill and we have a bakery, and it's one of these economy game loops that we have set up to where the one worker will go, he'll harvest his wheat, he'll take it to the windmill will convert it into flour, and then a baker will come grab that flour and make it into bread, which then goes back to your granary, which feeds your people. So.
And I just saw the time of day change as well. So you have that in there.
Yeah, this was actually a recent request from Moose. Moose King from Discord. He was like, yeah, I love watching your people walk around, and I would like to do it at night.
That sounds like Moose.
I mean, I may be paraphrasing there, but yeah. So we implemented the 24-hour time of day, which is actually an interesting problem to solve because for those who are technically know about CRYENGINE is that it uses cube maps for quite a bit. And so with a 24-hour day cycle, obviously it's not going to use one cube map, which is taken at noon, is not going to
work in the night. Yeah,
exactly. And so this actually goes back to something that was posted in the community Discord, in the CRYENGINE community Discord earlier this year. I think actually Sunlock was commenting on it, but basically explaining just like, hey, you can actually dynamically generate 24 probes for a day and then just swap them out of your environment probe to properly reflect the time of day that you're actually trying to represent. So yeah, we actually have a dynamic probe, which I'm actually hoping to get released to the marketplace as a plugin.
Nice.
So that anybody can just download it and throw it in.
Awesome.
To their project.
So you already mentioned plugins and stuff. There's also a fitting question from Darkrod. I got a question. First of all, congrats to the endeavor, Tristan. Wish you the best of luck on this project from Darkrod. And the question is, how much of the engine you had to modify in order to implement all the RPG elements?
Of the core engine?
Yeah, of the core engine, yeah.
None.
Yeah, I thought so. Because
yeah. So this is actually a fun story because CRYENGINE, I don't know, Nick, maybe you know, but someone who published videos to YouTube for CryEngine a long time ago. Richmar.
Yeah, yeah.
He did some strategy elements within CryEngine back when it was CryEngine 3. And so I actually watched a lot of his videos back in the day trying to understand exactly what the heck to do to build our RTS elements into CryEngine. And when I pulled this back up after jumping back into the engine like 4 or 5 years later, it's actually a lot simpler than you might think. Yes, CryEngine has primarily been used to create first-person shooters, but a lot of the same tools that are used to create a first-person shooter is used to create strategy games as well. So, like, just looking at this frame right here, you just have a camera, and all we're doing is controlling the position of the camera. That's nothing fancy. Selecting units is done via raycasts, which is nothing fancy. These UI elements are all just done through CryEngine's Flash UI system, which is all C++ controlled, the position of it, where the cursor is.
Yeah,
nothing fancy. So
you can actually do everything with CryEngine as long as it's a 3D game. I wouldn't say 2D development is suitable for CryEngine. Although when we did Flappy Boy, we did like this Zoodoo 2D thing. But yeah, it's definitely a 3D engine. But the thing is, where the misconception, I would say, that you have to modify the engine to make anything but a first-person shooter is actually coming from the fact that a lot of people, especially smaller teams, use Game SDK as a starting ground, and then they use Flowgraph. So the thing is, Game SDK and Flowgraph originally comes from Crysis modding, so to speak. So of course it is like other nodes in there. You know, if you want to use Flowgraph, which is the embedded visual scripting tool, it was originally more like a modding tool. So the flow nodes are only functional in Game SDK because there they are exposed to the code, and you can actually use the flow nodes to make things happen. But if you are a coder, you don't have to modify the engine. All the tools are there. You just have to know how to make things work in C++.
Yeah.
And I think that's more of the misconception. So if you're not a coder, if you don't know C++, and CryEngine being an engine with a C++ core, some Lua elements, of course that makes it more difficult. Because if you have to use a visual scripting method to script things, then all the nodes that are already there when you use Flowgraph, which are already exposed in Game SDK, they mostly are functionalities for first-person shooters. Although technically you can write your own nodes, but then you need code again.
By the way, when you select like 6 characters and move them, this reminds me a lot of Baldur's Gate.
What is that?
Baldur's Gate?
Baldur's Gate. Baldur's Gate.
But it's this really famous game that was released. I don't know the original developers. I think it was BioWare, when I'm not wrong.
Back in the day.
Back in the day, yeah. I mean the first Baldur's Gate, like 1 and 2. It had kind of the same circle around the player, and whenever you point to a direction where the player needs to go, it has the same icon. So it really reminded me of that. Isometric RPG. It's an old one, but still it holds up today. I really love Baldur's Gate 2 and 1.
What's the scope of your game? So what is planned? What is in store for Last Kingdom?
Yeah, so that's actually one of the things that's difficult with a strategy game. Is if you read through a lot of the articles online about like how to get started in game development and what should I make for my first game, everyone's like, don't make a strategy game because it's way too complicated.
No MMOs, no strategy games. That's usually what they say. Yeah.
But of course, like me being I want to challenge, I completely ignored that and started making it anyway. So this is partly why we this is partly why we split it out into having a technical demo. So the version 0.1 release is going to be a much stripped down version of what we're hoping the end game is going to be. So get something basic, something with core systems out there that works, and then once we get there, we can start to build out some other mechanics. Like, so 0.1 is going to be just base game, base economy. 0.2 is going to be castle building. So where you can actually like build a full castle with hoarding and taluses and walls and drawbridges and everything. And then 0.3 somewhere in there, it may just come naturally, but we want to get this into a multiplayer setup. Playing a game like this is fun, but playing it with other people is a lot more fun. So that's going to be a core focus. Whether or not it happens sooner or later, we want to create it so that there's a world, many people can connect to it, and play together and interact with each other, and make some fun game experiences that way.
Nice. Yeah.
Sounds really good.
And it's like, is there also a story to follow or like a campaign planned?
Well, first of all,
You guys have just seen one of the rare things I encounter nowadays is a CRYENGINE crash.
I wanted to say that.
It happens. It happens.
Which is not that was not a CRYENGINE problem. I want to put a disclaimer out there. I selected a courtyard and I tried to make it go somewhere. That is why it crashed.
CRYENGINE says no, courtyards don't go anywhere.
It's a forbidden move here.
Yeah, sorry. Could you repeat the question?
Yeah, no problem. I just said, do you have a story in mind? Is there a campaign plan maybe while you're building stuff? Is it just open world sandboxy, or do you want a story to go with it?
There'll be a bit of a story. There'll be a background to it. I guess just to give you like an introduction of kind of where this is coming from. So essentially, you play as a son of a very powerful lord in Europe. You went with your father on a crusade to after the Pope called for it. And within the crusade, your father was killed. Very tragic. And so you went home to basically take over his estate. On the way home, your ship crashes in a big storm, and you end up on a beach. On that beach, you have to scavenge for basic supplies, get some gear from your ship, and then you have to go out and find some place where you can set up and start to build. And that's kind of the intro story, the background story into what we're hoping is going to be a very open world aspects. There may be small pieces here and there that tell part of that story, but gameplay wise, it won't be linear. It's not going to be like you go through 5 missions to complete. It'll be here's a world, build, do as you will, and then you'll get elements of the story, of the background of the world as you're going through that.
Yeah.
Really nice. Yeah.
There's a question from the community, also from Darkrot. Another question is about the assets. Did you create all the assets of the game, or did you have resources where you collect all those assets? I'm not very good at creating assets, so it's pretty hard for me when I'm building a new game.
Yeah, this is a good question. I think this is a question a lot of new game developers get stuck on a bit. We didn't create all these assets. A lot of these assets are game SDK assets, actually. So they just ship with the game, like the trees, the ferns, the rocks are all game SDK. Like the courtyard, the weapons here are ours. We created them. The textures for the terrain are from Quixel. The animals are from an asset store. And I guess that's one thing I just want to recommend. As you're developing the games, there's a lot of asset stores out there. There's also the CRYENGINE asset database. If there's stuff there that you want to use, definitely use it and bring it in, because being able to visualize the game, I think, is a lot more important than creating everything yourself. You may spend a couple weeks trying to figure out how to create an animal, rig it, texture it, get it working with animations within CryEngine, or you can find a nice one from a marketplace and just plug that in. And luckily, there's a lot of tools within CryEngine that allows you to bring that stuff over.
Yeah, especially like for a setting like yours, we have like the Rice world building asset pack. We also have the Climb asset pack where you can use a lot of nature, and we have a few animals there. And also the Wilderness asset pack that we have also does give you a really nice nature assets that you can use. So it depends, of course, on if you want to build a cyberpunk city. Well, it's a bit harder, but if you want to do nature stuff, we are good with nature stuff. And you can get some really nice assets on the asset base on CryEngine.com.
Yeah, I think that's very good advice, especially because, like Tristan said, in the beginning, I mean, it depends a bit on where you're coming from. If you're an artist, right, then you probably just want to hop into Game SDK, use Flowgraph, and put your art in there and make it come to life. But generally speaking, if you're building a game, you need a vision. And then, of course, in the beginning, everything is a vertical slice. So while you're prototyping your game, relying on assets from an asset store is usually totally fine. Sometimes it can be trickier to find things where the license allows you to ship a game and then monetize it. But, it's all fair game, as they say, as long as you keep to the license agreement. And as Tristan mentioned, a lot of places online, not just the CryEngine asset database where you can actually source things like this. And, if you happen to be happy with what you do, and then you feel like, hey, I don't know, I want my wolves to be unique, and just in my game, then you can still figure out if you want to pay an artist, to create a model for you, or if you find another model that is maybe more expensive, but is more what you think you wanted in your game.
Yeah, absolutely, and especially at the stages where you're prototyping your game, what you have in your game may very well change. So, like, if the first thing you do is you jump into CryEngine and you're like, oh, I want some assets for this, let me spend $1,000 on a bunch of assets from different marketplaces, and then 3 months from now, you're like, okay, well, this setting doesn't actually work. Let me do something different. Well, hopefully, some of that investment can come over, but more likely than not, you'll have to kind of approach it from a different point of view.
Yeah. Also, one thing I recommend you to do, even though it's a sneaky one, I have to pull a sneaky one on you. You can go on the marketplaces of other projects and other products, and you can look for the pack that you kind of want to have, that you like, that you want to work with. And one thing to do is either, read the license agreement if you can buy it and then transfer it to CryEngine, or you can just ask the developers, because the developers are also almost every time pretty nice. They can help you with everything. If you say like, hey, okay, I will buy this pack, but can you provide me with the FBX files? Because they usually have the FBX files there. So you can have really nice workflow, really nice assets from other stores, just, be sent to you by the developers, or you just buy those and ask the developers if you can use those assets somewhere else. That's also completely fine. I think I did a tutorial on I did a stream on how to use some nice assets from Unity Store, for example, and carry over them with an FBX export tool from Unity to CryEngine. So you can just, mark whole levels. There was a whole mention that we could simply export to CryEngine. There are a few ways to do that, but
Yeah, as Roman said, as long as the license agreement allows it, or as Roman said, sometimes you can just ask the vendor if they would be happy for you to purchase the assets and use them in a different engine.
I did that for Darkness Anomaly a lot of times, and the developers, I'm still in contact with the developers because they were also really curious, like, hey, what are you doing? Of course I can provide you. And they released a new pack on all the stores, and I was like, hey, you released a new store. give me your PayPal, I'll send you the money, and just give me your files. And the developer was like, yeah, sure, why not?
Shut up and take my money.
Yeah. There was I met this really nice Ukrainian developer who's such a nice guy. He still is, and he created a lot of really nice assets, and a lot of those assets are actually in a lot of games. Because he makes really cool like housing and interior assets. And he was so nice and still nice, and I'm still in contact with him. So yeah, I encourage you to do that. Just reach out to the developers and, talk to them.
How many people are currently on the team, Tristan?
So there are three total people, including myself. So myself, Yorma, and then Europa Trader, who comes from my web development background and has worked with setting up some of the web services, like the website, getting our email campaign form set up, getting our Git hosted, and everything. So, but we are. I mean, we're not to self promote too hard, but we are looking for people to come work on the project as well with us. We do also have a paid posting in the CRYENGINE community Discord.
So
we're looking for someone. Yeah.
Just to be clear, this stream, and the stream and the video later on YouTube has the purpose of helping you. So please mark it and
Please self-advertise.
All you want. Yeah, that's important. Do that, please.
Okay, great. So yeah, we have a posting up about getting some help with the level design for a technical demo, and it is paid. So if anybody's interested or thinks they might want to work on a fun medieval project, definitely take a look at the jobs channel in the community Discord.
On Streamlabs, unfortunately, I don't have access right now to an account, so I'm a ghost. But Crydark, or maybe you can post a link again of the Discord account from Tristan. And yeah, this video will also be uploaded to YouTube, so hopefully a few people will join. That would be awesome.
Awesome.
So I would have also another question, because I think you kind of you talked about this in the beginning of the stream, but what are your big influences? What games kind of influenced?
Yeah. So it kind of comes from everywhere. Like the whole concept for Last Kingdom was like, let's take all the awesome things we loved from all the games from the past 20 years and put them all into one game. So a big influence for me would be like Civilization 3, Stronghold, specifically Stronghold 2, Age of Empires, StarCraft, Company of Heroes. There's a lot. There's a lot of really great things from all those games that I've enjoyed and I think are really nice as gameplay items. That I won't say we're trying to copy all of those and put those all into one game, but I would say everything we're building is definitely influenced by that past experience, and the memories from those past experiences.
Yeah, I can agree. I have to think about Age of Empires 2 and Stronghold also when I see the gameplay. I loved those games back in the days. That's actually really nice. Nick, do you have any questions?
Yeah. Actually, I'm just wondering, so I think this is really impressive that you put this together with just 3 people. Honestly, it's
Extremely.
really cool, because this is already a great vertical slice of everything. I mean, of course, the strategy or building games, they are, the hard part is to, obviously keep the curve better the curve so that people are being then invested in how everything sticks together. That's what makes them so invested in general. That's why people say don't make a strategy game. But I mean, this is already a great vertical slice. So are you looking for maybe investment or a publisher? Would you like to escalate this, so to say, or is that not the plan? Do you want to keep it more as a side project?
I think we're definitely opening to escalate. Escalate, maybe that's a bit of an aggressive term. We're definitely looking.
I'm sorry,
to
I'm German.
potentially-
I'm
that's
aggressive by nature. Sorry.
I don't think we'd oppose to moving in that direction right now. It is smaller. Obviously, this isn't like our primary. This isn't the primary focus of our lives right now. So like we all have jobs and we work jobs, and this is what we do when we don't have a job. You know, lots of people kick up their feet and watch a show or sit down and play Hunt. And instead of doing all that, I sit down and I boot up CRYENGINE. So
Yeah.
With that though, we also have a decent amount of self-funding. So like we're currently working with a couple different artists to get some different things made for the game. Yeah, obviously we're looking for someone to help with level design. So we'll push it to a point where I think we're happy with at least where the base is and what it's looking like it could become. And then yeah, who knows?
Nice.
And what would you say is your unique selling point? What is unique about Last Kingdom in comparison with other games?
Yeah, so the unique aspect of it is going to be that it's going to be a persistent world.
So so you want it to be MMO style, but just persistent.
MMO is a pretty broad term because it implies that there's going to be a ton of people playing, right?
Yeah.
But
okay.
But more so, like we want to create separate little pods where you can have maybe 20 total people join.
So like private servers or shared servers or
private servers or official servers, where people can join, jump between, get into, and then play together. And obviously, I understand like there's a lot of technical hurdles to get over to get there. There's a reason why strategy games aren't built to be persistent online servers right now. But at the same time, I think it's a great. I think it's a great place where we can jump in to differentiate ourselves, but then also to try something new that maybe necessarily hasn't been tried before, specifically within this genre.
Nice.
Yeah.
And do you have a development roadmap for the next couple of months already, or are you just playing it by ear?
Typically, at any given time, we have about the next 6 months of development planned out. We have a private GitLab instance where we kind of track everything, host everything. That's where all our builds for the game get compiled and pushed to Steam. But there we kind of break down all the things we want to get in, which comes from our own internal roadmap, but also comes from any feedback we get through the Discord. And it all just gets pushed into milestones, which are usually we aim for about a month worth of work in between them. So about a month, maybe 2 at most, we'll cut a release of whatever changes we've gotten in that time.
Oh, it sounds like it's a great time to join Blue Iron Labs. Is it Blue Iron Labs or Iron Blue Labs?
Blue Iron Labs.
I thought so. Yeah.
There's a great story behind it. It's it was founded a long time ago, actually almost 10 years ago, as a company. But blue, my favorite color, iron, a strong metal, and labs, because we do more than one thing. And we're going to have different laboratories.
Awesome. I like that. That's nice. Is there anything you want to show us today? Absolutely have to show us now, here. What's the one thing you want to showcase in the spotlight today?
Oh, geez. Well, I think I've kind of showcased some stuff already. I mean, we've looked at like formations. I showcased some of the combat stuff with hunters hunting. The attachment system's pretty cool. That was actually one of the more recent additions.
Yeah, we
Being
saw.
able to just
I saw that. Yeah, you're
One-
picking up stuff.
pick up everything, yeah. And there's like different variations of swords you can grab.
It also gives me a little bit a vibe of Spellforce. I don't know if you know this game.
Spellforce, I haven't. That's something that like people keep saying. Oh, like this is a lot like this other game, and I'm like, I've never played it.
Yeah, Spellforce is like a mix of building and RPG elements.
Yeah.
I'm a huge sucker for this kind of games. That's why I'm really excited to see Last Kingdom.
What games do you play is the question. If you play games, when you play games, what games do you enjoy?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
No, I thought you were asking Journey.
No.
We all know he
You.
just plays Hunt, right?
Yeah, just exclusively, nothing else.
Yeah.
Not allowed. It's in his contract. No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
Games are in my free time. So I will look up. I will pick up Hunt. I like to play some of the other CryEngine games that get released. So like War of Rights or Wilson. Wilson specifically because it has sort of a similar interaction system to mine. So it's nice to kind of reference and just think about how they might have done something. But beyond that, yeah, I would say more so than not, I pull up development rather than a game. If anything, I'm pretty excited to check out Company of Heroes 3, which has come out recently.
That got really high numbers, right? It's supposed to be amazing.
Yeah, they introduced like a whole new level system, kind of similar to Bannerlord, to the Mountain Blade series.
I love that. Those games are so good.
You move around instead of just jumping into a single level. So
yeah, that's awesome.
Moose King demands to show the inside of the barn. Now I'm curious, what is in that barn?
The barn? What barn?
Yeah, I don't know. Moose King says, show them the inside of the barn. And I'm like, okay.
I want to know, are there any secrets?
I'm not sure what barn we're referring to here.
Moose King, what barn?
What barn, Moose?
Oh, a funny little thing I wanted to tell, because we were talking earlier on that you can only create shooter games with CryEngine. Because I'm currently playing Octopath Traveler 2, but when the first game was released a few years ago, I had an idea to create an actual prototype in CryEngine with similar mechanics. So to have a 3D world, but with 2D characters, and I was just using a plane, and I was switching up materials on that plane to create a 2D character, and it worked incredibly well. So, just if you people, you want to be a little bit creative, you can. Oh, look at this, cows, baby cows.
Oh, it even has cows inside.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, not just cows, but baby cows.
Oh, that's awesome.
Aww. Do they come with the barn? Oh,
They did grow up.
Yeah, they are grown up. I'm not sure if these were the cows Moose was talking about, but or the barn Moose was talking about.
He said the storage barn. But I love this one.
Yeah.
I love this one because it has cows and they even grow up. That is amazing.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's a nice detail. I love details like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he was referring to the warehouse, where when you collect resources, we actually stack them.
Oh, so nice.
This is representative, actual mesh representative of how many resources you have, and as you collect more wood, the stacks will get higher.
I'm loving it.
Yeah, that's really nice.
Those are the nice little details, like Journey said.
Yeah, I love details in games.
Awesome. All right. Yeah. I think that's probably it for today. Any more questions from the community right now here for Tristan in stream? Anything you want to see? Hit it. Have to
Cheese
think
maker.
about streaming delay.
Good stream, says Musking. Thank you, Musking.
Indeed, yeah, it's amazing. I really like to do that more. Showcasing some other developers who work with CryEngine, because there's so many different ways, so many different things you can do. You mentioned Volson as well. I think what they have done with the engine is absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
I love that game to bits. Also because I love hack and slash games, I have to say it's my thing. But yeah, many other games to show as well. You mentioned Tristan. You said you played some of the other CryEngine games that came out. What's your favorite CryEngine game?
So recently, I think Crisis 2 was really well, since it's a CryEngine game. I think the remastered was really well done. It's really nice to see it with Swogi. In terms of like third-party games, War of Rights it's really nice because they focus on historical accuracy. The technical implementation of everything they have is very, very nice to just observe from a development point of view. So yeah, I'd probably say War of Rights.
They have done a very good job on that game, I have to say. It's really unique, it's really niche. And in Europe, we cannot appreciate it as much because for us the American Civil War is, for us, it's just something that happens in movies in a way. But yeah, I definitely love how they found their niche, how they are catering to their community. Their community management is also very good. And the game has made great strides. It just looks fantastic nowadays.
Yeah. And it's still getting updates. Both War of Rights and Wilson are still getting development updates. I don't know if people necessarily know that. I don't know if what games within the CryEngine development world are still getting updates pushed to them. I don't know if that's well known.
There is a huge update coming for Wilson, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That would be really interesting. Yeah. Also, Resonance says why this guy is dead. He's not dead, right? He's just sleeping.
Oh no, he's dead.
Of course, he's sleeping.
This is the same position as I take when I'm sleeping. It's like exactly the
same. Yeah. What killed him? What killed him?
Me.
Yeah, Tristan. Oh
no. Yeah.
Yeah, this is also one of questions I had. Now, if I would ask this, everyone would say yes. But do you have plans to include a life into the workers, the peasants, that they actually do like go to sleep every day, they go to work, or is there any plans on that to include, an actual simulation?
Yeah, so Moose actually brought this up. He said he also suggested something similar, that he'd like to see that. I think there's a balance. If we were to do something like that, we'd have to speed up the night cycle because there's nothing more exciting than sitting for 10 minutes watching all your peasants sleep while you're trying to build a castle. But yeah, it's something we're considering. Right now they just work 24/7.
Yeah.
As peasants should.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Like spoken like a real monarch.
Yeah.
I think you would have, if you would do that with the sleeping cycle. It could also be exciting though. But other things probably would have to happen. Like, I don't know, rogues invading your castle or stealing cows, and then you would have to add measures of, not just having peasants building stuff, but maybe having watchmen at night and patrolling. So that would probably spiral out of control, because if you wanted to make that meaningful, so the nighttime is still meaningful, then you would have to add a ton of features. But I mean, there's still a lot of time.
Yeah, I mean, what's nice about CryEngine is that it hasn't changed a whole lot over the past couple of years, and the tooling that we have today is going to be it's going to be the same tooling we'll have for a bit. So no need to worry about like engine updates or engine upgrades that are going to break stuff, at least for now.
You make us look bad now.
We're just no. I don't mean this in a bad way. I guess what I'm trying to say is we're able to focus on the game without worrying about when and if stuff might change.
Yeah.
True, yeah. And with the long-term support update, that is definitely something we were taking into consideration as well. Because it gives everyone a break. You know, it works at once. We made it stable. It's good. And we have a break to, investigate where we want to go in the next couple of months and years. And everybody else can also still do that. And I'm really happy that so many people are taking up on it. So good job, definitely.
Good job, yeah.
And thanks for choosing CryEngine.
That's yes, and you know what really, really helps with like systems with quite the simulations and stuff? Money. So everyone, go to the Patreon page of Blue Iron Labs and donate some money. Just do it. It's money.
Yeah.
You do get something out of it. Probably
an amazing
not worth
game.
The monetary value, but
All right. I think we'll probably be back at some point, right? Because I would love to see how your game keeps developing, and maybe we could even, if you're up for it, we could even do, a real development stream. As you know, Journey is often developing in stream here, and I know you share development streams as well on Blue Iron Labs. So that is a given. Everyone in here who wants to see how Tristan is working on the game, please follow Blue Iron Labs on Twitch to see that. But I would also love to do a bit of maybe a common thing, common game jam or something in the future. Would really love to see that because it's interesting to have the community ideas in there as well.
So thank you. First of all, thank you for taking the time. That was a nice stream. And game jam. Yes, Nico.
Game jam.
Thank you for taking your time, Nick. Thank you for taking your time as well. That was an awesome stream, which also will be available on YouTube. And if you are hearing this on YouTube right now, please check the link in the video description and also pinned as a comment. Please support the amazing developers of Blue Iron Labs and Last Kingdom. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time, everybody. Do you have final thoughts? Something you want to get rid of? Let me know, or suffer in silence.
Something you want to get off your chest, Tristan.
Just join the CryEngine community Discord. Try to make something in CryEngine. It's a lot of fun. I think we have a lot of fun. So
yeah,
looking forward to seeing you there.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining and today and taking the time to show us your awesome game. For everyone in chat as well, just FYI, I'm going to be at GDC in 2 weeks. So if you can make it there, if you want to shake hands, if you want to say hi, I'm happy to do that. Just let me know on Discord. And we'll see what we can do. I'm super excited. I've never been to the US of A. Yeah. And Roman has been there several times, I think. But
I fell in love with this country.
Yeah. So good opportunity. I mean, I know this country is just too big. So unfortunately, I know it's short notice, but if anybody is around San Francisco, California, or is going to GDC, just let me know. I'm super excited.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.